Greetings, Father Joe here, your friendly neighborhood pastor, coming to you from St. Patrick's Church in lovely Highland Mills, New York. Today is Wednesday of the 31st week in Ordinary Time, and we had voting yesterday. And because they were doing it in our gym, I stopped over into the gym a few times just to make sure that everything was running smoothly. And a woman came up to me. She's not Catholic. She says, Father, I'm not Catholic, but I have a question. Can you answer for me? I said, yes. She said, it's a deep question. And I immediately thought I should probably make an appointment with this woman to discuss this in length. But I said, all right, fine. What's your question? She says, why can't priests get married? And I said, well, we give up that which is the highest in the natural order as a sign that we have a hope of resurrection and life of heaven. And she said, that doesn't really mean much to me. And I said, all right, we make a sacrifice. And she said, well, but why do you have to sacrifice? And I said, well, it's like the religious who take vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Poverty, I mean, we're not saying that property or, goods are evil, but people decide that they're willingly going to embrace poverty. And she said, why would anybody want to do that? And it came to me, I said, it's a gift. And she said, what? You mean you like not being married? And I said, no, I would love to be married. I just, I feel that I am called to give up that. And so she says, so why is that a gift? And I said, well, no, the gift isn't the not being married. The gift is God's calling me to this particular sacrifice, because most people don't have that calling or that gift. Same thing with poverty. I didn't say this to her, but when I was looking around as to whether I was going to be a diocesan priest or a religious priest, I knew without a doubt that I did not have a vocation to the Franciscans. I don't have a vocation to poverty. I have a certain amount of poverty in my life, a simplicity of life, but I am not called to Franciscan poverty. Sorry, that was the side note. So the question is sacrifice. And she just, why would you have to sacrifice? Why is that important? That just makes no sense to me. And so when we look at our readings today, St. Paul says that love is the fulfillment of the law. Well, if we're going to follow the law, that always entails sacrifice. We have to give up, or we have to be obedient. Love calls for an even greater sacrifice. Jesus tells us that the greatest love, there is no greater love than this, that you lay down your life for your friends. In other words, that you make a sacrifice. In our responsorial psalm, we read or recite, blessed the man who is gracious and lends to those in need. By the way, please notice it doesn't say just give away everything. It says, but to lend, to be willing to help other people. And then in the gospel, the crowds are following Jesus. And he says, if anyone comes to me without hating his father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters and even his own life, then you cannot be my disciple. Now, by the way, it's a Semitic literary device to say you have to love this and hate that. It doesn't mean that you hate your parents and your siblings and whatnot. It means that we put God first. And when we choose God and we put everything else after that, we're making a sacrifice. It is foundational for our lives as Christians. Jesus continues that we have to take up our cross. Every day we have to take up our cross and follow him. Well, what is the cross? It's a sacrifice. It's offering. Jesus offers his life for us. And we don't walk around with a wooden cross on our back, but the cross that we bear is this gift from God that allows us to be united with Jesus in his gift of love, or his total gift of himself. Jesus goes on to talk about being prepared for these. The guy who's building the tower and the king who's going into battle. So I didn't join the Franciscans because God didn't give me the grace for that. I did become a priest because I believe that God called me to this, and so he gave me the graces that are necessary for this. All Christians, all Catholics, are called to sacrifice for others. It's an act of love. But some are called to give in a specific way and not in another. So, Jesus concludes in our gospel today in the same way. Any one of you who does not renounce all his possessions cannot be my disciples. Saint Ignatius says that we are all called to a spiritual poverty or a detachment. But some people are called to a literal detachment or a physical poverty. So if we don't think that sacrifice is an important part of our life or an important part of following Jesus, we're missing the point. And when we miss the point, we will not be open to opportunities to cooperate with this gift. So you are called to sacrifice. If we do it with love, then it is a gift. It is uniting our lives with Jesus. If we do it reluctantly or begrudgingly, then we may be doing it, but not the same way. So let us offer sacrifices for one another. Amen.